I'm back, beautiful people. I'm back, back working on Regulated City. Took a little break, little vacation, little R&R, little relaxing and destroying my office. But I'm back. I'm back. I'm back from my little break. Thanks for all the great comments on the video 2 weeks ago before I went on my break. I'm still struggling a little bit with the game I'm working on, but I have been tinkering with it already for a couple of days and actually already pushed a version with changes that I'm going to talk about. I think these are good changes and they will help me get back on track for the game. So the first thing I did, and I'm gonna show you a little bit about it, is dumbing down the enemies. I need a screenshot. I'm gonna grab a screenshot. Hang on. Regulated City, game I'm working on. Let's pick this character. Let's quickly dive into game because we need to find a little enemy. Luckily this game has a lot of enemies, so it doesn't matter where we go. Also over here. Let's start moving out. Right, still love how the squad, the team, oh wait, hang on, never mind. We're gonna grab a screenshot right here, paste it in GIMP, and we only need this area right here. And zoom it down, alright. So this is a fairly normal situation, and this is what the enemies used to be doing. They would stand here a little bit for like an idle couple of minutes, random amount of seconds or time, and then eventually they would decide on a direction, down, right, up, left, usually not the direction they were already moving in, so one of the other ones. You never know which one, so they might go up here for a couple of seconds and then idle again, and of course they will do the same again. They will pick a direction, move into that direction for an X amount of seconds. It's all fairly random and you never know where they end up. They would also be alarmed by pretty much everything around them. So your squad members, they could see them, or your squad members might be shooting at something, they would hear it, or that would also alert the other guys, or you would kill a guy like this one and then it would be alerted and attack you, and all very realistic, just not a lot of fun in games. So what we now did is this guy would still stand idle right here for an X amount of seconds, and then it would always be moving over there. So it's pretty much going to be a counterclockwise movement. The duration of the walk is still random, the amount of idle as well, but you always know which direction he's going to be moving into. Same for the characters around him, which makes it a lot easier to plan your attacks. Of course, the duration of the walk could be like this, and this is a straight line. This is a straight line, and this is another straight line and another straight. So eventually they would end up at different spots, but it's always going to be counterclockwise movement. Make it a lot easier for the player to predict. So if he's moving over here, you know you can attack from behind, sneak up on him, take him down, break his neck, and this guy would only be seeing all that happening if he was actually moving towards that. Having that as a predictable situation makes it a lot more fun for the player. He will also notice less of the surrounding stuff happening, so they were just too aware of their environment. So now all these guys will be happy because it's a lot more predictable. Also, another change is that they would be using pathfinding to make sure they get around everything and be able to track and hunt down the player. They do this in very tiny situations, but most of the time they are now just moving horizontally, vertically, and if they bump against something, they will just be like if they move upwards and they bump against a table, they will only be moving horizontally until they are behind the table or beyond the table, and they be able to move up again. It's very simple AI, very simple movement, but it makes it a lot easier for the player to understand what's going on and where are these guys going to. So sometimes it's better to dumb things down and make things more simple and kind of help the player by having code that cheats for you, pretty much. It cheats the situation in such a way that the player feels he is in control, he has all the power, he knows what's going to be happening, and he's the hero. And that's pretty much what every game does usually. And in this game I just made things too realistic, and nobody likes a realistic game. Action game. Maybe a flight simulator could be interesting. Action games should not be realistic. That would only hurt people. So that's really a little secret. A lot of games do these things. Like right now I'm also implementing sneaking up on enemies so that you can take them down, break their neck, all that good stuff. And the character, the enemy, knows you're there. Obviously, we have game code. We can detect everything around it. It's just simple calculations, simple detection, stuff like that. So the enemy knows you're sneaking up on him. And the little trick we're doing now is that he will put himself into some sort of fake idle mode. He will just be standing there, letting you do your thing. So instead of being able to certainly turn around and start shooting, he will know, oh, you're sneaking up, you want to go for that breaking my neck type of thing. I'll help you with it. I'll go into an idle mode. And right now I still need to tweak it a little bit, because you can sneak up on an enemy. He will go into that fake idle mode, and if you then stand still behind him, you can stand still behind him forever. He will just be standing there waiting for you to break his neck. There will be a little timer. If you take too long, he will start shooting. That's something I'm building into the game right now. But little cheats like that are very common in games. Another very common thing in games, and not in the big AAA games, but in many smaller games, is a fake loading screen. I have done that in the past. Sorry, but it actually helps the player get back some energy, maybe get a little drink while it's loading. And if you're streaming your gameplay, you can actually talk to your community, have a little chat, see what's going on, and then get back into the game. For example, in Residual, the crashing on a planet is a loading screen, but the full planet is generated before you see the crashing happening. That crashing just builds up a little tension, a little excitement for, I'm gonna crash on a freshly built planet. This is gonna be awesome. It's a fake loading screen, and I've done it in multiple games, and many developers do it. And it's not that you have a loading screen of minutes. It's usually just a couple of seconds extra, giving the player that extra time to grab a drink or do a little sip of their water and then get back into it, or beer or wine or other drugs. Don't do drugs. That's moving on. I made a couple of other changes with the enemies. They were pretty much randomly created from head and body, which is good, but you never had a certain idea or feeling that you knew which enemy you had against you. So I changed that. Certain bodies will always have the same type of head, and they will have the same type of weapon and the same type of power. That's another change I've been working on. We already had superpowers for the main characters. They were pretty useless because they were so overpowering, nothing could stop you. And now we have enemies that also can be very powerful, and in those panic moments when you run into a couple of those guys, you want your superpower to be there. So it gives a better level of difficulty, and I still have to balance it all out. But it's a good change in a good direction. The idea for that is that the ooze is on the planet Earth. The ooze from Residual, but many of my other games have it as well. It's now on planet Earth and is being used to create some sort of drug. And this drug gives superpowers to some of these enemies, some of these bad guys. And you have to fight for control in the city and try to figure out or solve the whole drug problem in town, the ooze drug problem. The idea isn't fully shaped yet, but this is pretty much where we're going to. And this gives me a better idea, because now I can also implement many other type of creatures. I can grab the dogs. We have the dog animations that were done by DMAC. Remember that one? The intern from last year. He created a couple of dogs and cats and things. We can now give them some sort of oozification, and then they could be creatures that attack you as well. I think that's going to be interesting, and it also gives me more creativity and inspiration to create such enemies and obstacles in the game. So we won't be just fighting against enemies with guns. There will be a lot more things happening. I just have to create them. But we have a lot of ideas now. And that's the good thing, because I was stuck. So lots of stuff is being changed or removed, especially a lot of randomness. I think I just went overboard on certain things, and it can work pretty well depending on your game design, but in this case it just wasn't working. As a player, you want to identify things and you want to be clear about things, and especially having enemies just move in a pattern makes it a lot easier. And that also goes back to the whole classic arcade type game that I've been trying to pursue. Those games had very logical patterns. Everything was moving in the same pattern because we couldn't do anything else back in the day. Now we can do so much, but sometimes we just do too much. In this case, I was doing too much and I had to dumb things down, making the game a lot more fun and easier to play. So that's a good thing. I also been clearing up the whole screen. There was just too much clutter from images and icons and debris and just a bunch of things that didn't need to be on screen. So when you shoot an enemy, there would be a lot of bullets spawning out of that character, which is cool. A lot of stuff to pick up. It's also a lot of clutter on the screen. So right now it just drops one thing, which is an ammo box. Much clearer, much easier to see. Same with blood and other debris. Dead bodies are now darker toned so that they are less visible to the eye, and they also vanish a little bit faster. A lot of these little things. We had icons above the player's head. If you had to freeze your team or if you had to give the command to move, there would be these little hand icons and signals. Clutter. It's an interesting idea, fun idea. It looked fun on screenshots, but it also made people think this was a tactical game or a turn-based game. So it's just confusing and unnecessary. So I removed a bunch of those things, making the whole screen at any given time a lot clearer to the player, and that's really my main focus now. A lot of game design tweaks and changes and improvements to hopefully get this game back on track and wrap up the work on it. So yeah, still got a bunch of stuff to do, but I think I'm more confident now than I was before my vacation. I have to just sit down and make some decisions and then dive into the work, and not just work and try to make decisions while I'm going, because that usually works unless you're struggling. But I think I fixed it. I think I took enough time to come up with some ideas to work on and tweak the game and hopefully push it towards that end goal. We're gonna find out on this channel, so make sure to subscribe and like this video, comment below, drop on the Discord, and make sure to check back next week as there will be another video. Thanks for watching. Alright, bye.